So welcome to another episode of Erryting Kool.
It started, does it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've been recording for the last 3 minutes.
Oh, okay. I'm with it. I'm like, oh.
So
I'm waiting for the intro
it
to
just be
drop.
sudden, just like this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we don't want to do anything to scare your children. That's the last thing we want to do. We don't want to scare anybody.
The tourists come over to chill on the beach, but they don't come over the hill where we sleep. We got nightmares and they got fantasies. No sanity, it's just insanity. My mommy hoping nothing happens to me.
it's been a while. The last episode y'all loved because we had Jasmine Collins on, and we have another someone off my peer group, someone I feel like I've seen around for years, but I about to soon introduce him. Please introduce yourself, sir.
Well, by all means, it's PJ Fuego, PeeJae. I'm modern day Maya Angelou, dressing like Kanye West, but speaking like Malcolm X, everybody.
Okay. So PJ, I was telling a friend earlier today. I was like, because they had told me that it was related to Whitney.
Houston?
No, from Twitter, Dub
Oh,
K. Yeah, and I was like, I didn't know them personally, but I was like, I know them from I've seen that Twitter handle a lot on Twitter over the years.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then she's like, really? And I was like, yeah, like Bahamian Twitter is the bourgeoisie of Bahamian society.
I wouldn't knock it.
Because I was like, I've been on Twitter since 2009, and I've seen the evolution of everybody who was there from the beginning become a young professional.
Yeah, I feel as though like the Twitter community outside of what Facebook gave, it was more intimate. At the time when it came about, I remember being in COB and not many people had it. It was like maybe 15 of us, maybe 16 of us.
I was in the Twam era.
Yeah, we had the Twam, gone other days, but shout out to the Twam.
Shout out to the original Twam.
And it would be most of the folks from COB, and then we'd see each other all day, then go to Twitter, then talk about the day, whatever was happening in pop culture. I remember there was a moment where we used to do a lot of live tweeting during like the award shows.
Yeah, the award shows, like sports, like let's say the Super Bowl, or the NBA Finals. What else?
I think it
like
was
live. It was live events because streaming wasn't too heavy.
Yeah,
around that time yet.
And I remember, I think it was a Super Bowl that someone from Twitter, Bahamian Twitter, their tweet got recognized at like the Super Bowl or the Grammys, and we were like, "Oh, we made it! The Bahamas, we made it!"
Yeah. And then all the CYC moments with the different people.
I remember the lady who called us that we were living in huts.
Yeah,
I remember that moment clear as day.
And then the woman who was stealing the coat of arms.
Yes. Wow. And even outside of the jokes, what I really I think what stands out to me for Twitter the most is when Hurricane Dorian came about in a more prolific standpoint, how it was able Twitter, the platform was able to keep people up to date instantly, connect people with their families, being able to send help for people. I remember I was working at a radio station. I won't mention their name, and
don't you on your own now.
I was working at a radio station as a producer, and I came on the morning of, I think it was the morning after Dorian or while Dorian was happening, and I remember we were getting calls out that like buku calls saying that they needed help, 911 was down, all this different stuff, and I remember going into it, I'm like, hey, how do we help? Like, what are the numbers to call? And Twitter was actually a good way to help direct persons, even source persons as well too.
Yeah, so it's always been there.
Ooh, yeah, wow. Twitter, we just grow with Twitter. I think Twitter now has been infiltrated, a bit gentrified from what we remember it to be.
Yeah, because it was really like, having parties on the time. Like even before Overdose had those live streams
for the pandemic parties.
Did that like 10 years before that happened. So it, like,
I remember DJ Empario used to do stuff like that too. Shout out to Empario.
Yeah. So, so like I was saying before, someone I've seen around for years, you see people in passing, especially being in the creator space, whether it be media, art, music, and whatever we want to add to that. So
all the in-between.
All the in-between. So tell me your journey. Because I feel like you used to go to SAC, correct?
No.
You never went to SAC?
Oh, SAC, no.
Hold on, what high school you went to?
I went to the Distinguished School of Choice. The St. John's College. Thank you.
I don't know why I feel like that's interchangeable.
I handled a lot of SAC people.
Okay, that's probably why. Okay. So
I have a few friends from SAC. Shout out to SAC.
Okay, so you went to St. John's. I don't want to say which year you graduated. So
I mean, I shouldn't say so.
Right.
I shouldn't say so. I graduated 2009.
Okay, I mean around the same as I was 10. So it's like
okay.
Yeah,
I thought you were gonna kill me with like 13. I'm like,
no.
Okay,
That's my younger brother.
Oh, felt my age with that one.
So that's what I'm saying. When I joined Twitter, I was like grade 11.
Grade 11?
Yeah. So it's like around that same, the blog era.
Yeah, the Tumblr era.
Yeah, the Tumblr era. Like, so I went to CUB, now UB, I think fall of 2010.
I went fall 2009. I did 3 semesters at CUB at the time. Did that fall, the spring, and then fall 2010, and I didn't go back for spring 2011.
Until spring 2011.
No, I stopped in spring 2011. I took that time I was prepping to go off to school. I was working at insert hotel here, and I was making sure trying to get my money right, honestly. I started my journey more so in media when I was at CUB, mass comm major.
So you was in mass comm too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone knows Mr. Z. Mr. Z is my teacher.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mr. Z. I have the fondest memory of Mr. Z asking him for a reference letter and him telling me no.
Why?
Saying that I laugh now because I'm like, oh, but he's like, oh, he's going in the reference of he doesn't want to put his name behind me or whatever, and that's fine. And at the time, I would say I wasn't as passionate about the career at the time, or even seeing the end goal of it. So it's like, it kind of gave me that fuel to say, you know what, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Okay.
So started out there, did radio there actually. Started with radio production specifically. Did that for a hot little minute. And as I mentioned, I stopped COB spring 2011 to work full time. Working at the hotel, I was real heavy in guest activities. So we used to do a lot of hosting games on the pool, hosting in the clubs that night. So I would say that's where I started to get that feel of, okay, radio was cool. Like I like how that felt. I like interacting with the crowd and going from there. Went off to school to Bethune-Cookman University. Did mass comm there. Graduated in my senior year. I was one of the journalists at our on-campus news station. Okay. So I got my foot in the door with news. Used to do a lot of heavy stuff in terms of being like my own everything. They used to call them multimedia journalists. Oh, they still do.
I mean, that's essentially what it is, huh?
Yeah, because I'm suit and tie, trying to get my own set. I'm trying to look like the anchor or the big news reporter, but I'm carrying around my tripod, bag of my Sony camera. Gotta have my notes too. So I'm like, and I'm walking off around campus and I'm trying to make it look easy. Like, you have your heavy bags and you're going to a news story or press conference or anything like that. You would have like a little team. But I'm like, I was solo dolo. And we did that for my senior semester. Once I graduated, I got into radio heavy with sports broadcasting, actually.
Over there?
In Ormond Beach, Florida. I worked at a station called WELE 1380, The Cat, where I did a lot of sports broadcasting. I used to have a show called What's Happening at BCU, where we in the daytime, we do a lot of interviews with on-campus like personnel. So
you was the quote-unquote socialite. Remember that term?
Socialite.
Yeah.
My friends always thought I was popular, I guess. I wouldn't own it. I just think that it was more so like I just felt as if I knew enough faces. If I didn't remember names, I at least knew enough faces. And if I didn't know, we could always get to know each other in that regard. But once dealing with that, I wasn't a sports guy at all. I hated basketball.
So why you chose this?
It was the money. Like, I'm not gonna hold you. It was the foot in the door. It was in the idea. Like, I was like, listen, nothing else biting. This what's biting.
Okay.
I'll always say, don't Don't, how folks would do like this.
Some people say just wing it. Like, even if you went into it, like, you could just
fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always say, just let me research. Don't give me an impromptu show to talk about sports or talk about football, because I'm like,
Googling stats.
Googling. I'm like, is it touchdown or is it goal? Let me make sure, is it a 3-point throw? A 3-point throw in this one here? But that was pretty interesting. Interesting little pocket of my life before I moved home. Prior to me moving home, I took a break from radio, and I did a little bit of philanthropy. I volunteered at this Serious Fun camp that catered towards chronically ill kids from 6 years old to about 16. It was called Camp Boggy Creek, and I did that the summer before I moved home. That was in Eustis, Florida. And when you think of camp life, it's a little bit more glamping, but it does have that like rural feel of camping, that fishing, going out into nature, seeing wild bears, horseback riding, all the good stuff. It was cool. It was something that I always wanted to do, even before coming back home, tried to see how, to being human, I always say you can get lost in yourself, get lost in your career, but I think the intentionality of giving back is something that you really would want to pride yourself in. And that was a little fun way of doing so. It was super cool, actually. Would I do it again? Maybe a different way. but my entire summer on camp, like, I'm talking no cell phones. Like,
I mean, I would die for something like that right now, just to come off the grid.
Yeah, it was each week you dealt with a different age group with different illness. So you had persons or children who had heart disease or heart surgeries, heart transplants, sickle cell, cancer. And it was just like for that week, kind of like their week to forget about everything, forget about the world, forget about what the world and the pressures that comes along with that. And it's something about giving people joy in that facet. I think it's when you can see people for themselves despite whatever's happening. I think that was something I really wanted to tap into. And it really showed me, I guess, how there's still room to grow within myself too. As a human being, as a, I guess, person, who wouldn't want to take anything for granted, and just see how life can be so short or can change so quickly for persons who 6 years old all the way up to my age and beyond, So
which year was it when you finally? So I guess you did that when you was on OPT.
Yes. So I did that in OPT and did that my final year of OPT, actually. I said, let me go with a bang. Came out, that was in the latter part of 2017. I officially fully moved home in 2018. Okay. Closed up my apartment, said goodbye to my peace of mind, my humble abode. And just, I had this big fear of moving back home. And
so does everybody.
Yeah, no.
Because I was going to get to that next. So what I tell people, just looking back, because I moved back home late 2016. That was December 2016. So going into 2017 and 2018, I felt like there was this new entrepreneurial boom happening. Yeah. To where it was this influx of new everything. And this was the time for new expansive, mainstay businesses that we have become accustomed with now, started at that period of time. Yeah. Do you feel the same way? Or actually, also, how did it feel coming back home and seeing that there was a little bit of progression in certain fields and aspects?
Well, the first question, I remember I was fearful of coming back home. My fear, and I remember telling my friends those before I left. I was in Daytona Beach, Florida. And I remember having this close-up party for my apartment. And I remember saying that I was fearful of losing my spark, or the spark that I started to garner in being away, being in the States, kind of like that middle moments of becoming an adult in a different country. I think that's so different, because you then have that moment to blossom into so many pockets of yourself without parental guidance or parental influence, or even this idea of thinking, oh, these are people who know you, type of thing. You get to authentically become yourself. Yeah. And I think for me, moving back home, I felt as though that I was coming back home to a close-minded, or even a Bahamas that wasn't ready for who I was, and who I and what I was thinking and my way of life and how I presented myself, what I wanted to do professionally, I felt as though it was a lot of convincing. So when I came back home, that was in 2017, to see the progression of where we were in different areas, I appreciated it. I really did. I think it was a lot of open-mindedness now to, let's say, millennials. It was this whole little back and forth. This was the period of the work era, like, oh, millennials just want to do X, Y, and Z, or oh, these millennials, they don't care about work. Oh, they only stay at jobs for this. And mind you, all that can be true. But
but now they worrying about Gen Z right now.
Yeah, so, like, they get, woo, that's yeah, boy, they keep blowing my mind every day.
Yeah,
but, but for me, I think then and at the time, geez, I wasn't even like this now or looking like this. I remember coming with my high top that was up to here, blonde. And I was like, yeah, this is me. This is what's popping. And honestly, I think it was a growing moment because it was a lot of acclimating to. It felt as though I was having to acclimate to home again and acclimate to.
Yeah, that's what everybody goes through.
Oh yeah, feeling
especially
kind of misplaced in my
year.
own country.
Yeah, because it's a thing called the first year depression, where it's like it's the reacclimation from first world living to third world living.
Yeah.
Because you got accustomed to everything is a touch of a button to grinding it out again and then understand, okay, this is a small space. So, relationships and networking is important, but it's really important when it's small because you don't know, you might cross somebody and they connected to someone all kind of places and you getting hit from different angles, or if you get in with the right person, everything just becomes open to.
And even with that, because like you said, like being in pockets, let's say for our careers or depression that we're in, at the time, media was even smaller than it is now. Like, or let's say in terms of people who were influencers or who were taking social media seriously. I think that pocket was really small. So
it didn't change until like 19, 20?
Yeah, 1920. If that, people start getting like official job titles with social media stuff then. And it was one of those things where you couldn't hold or harbor feelings from like high school or COB. I'm like, listen, these are the same people from then to now. You don't have to like kiss ass, but at the same time, you need to recognize that these are the people, or some of them are the movers and shakers in this field that you're trying to get into. Or trying to, I guess, pitch your fork into,
or you just be like me and be a complete renegade.
And listen, sometimes I felt as that I remember, Jesus, the I think everyone goes through when they move back home trying to find a job. And I remember interning at. And I remember interning as one of their the social media reporter. And this was in the first 3 months of their establishment. This would have been...
This has been 2018? Like mid-2018?
Yeah, mid-2018. Okay. We were filming the behind-the-scenes documentary for the prison.
Okay, yeah.
I was part of that crew there. And mind you, good slow experience. Got a chance to pop into my little videographer bag at the time, covering the story. And I remember that the idea of pay started to come up. The pay, I won't list it now because I won't discourage anybody because they're great and popping now. But at the time, let's just say, hypothetically, let's put a figure on it. Let's just say it was $8. Okay. Let's just say $8.
Hour?
Huh? No, I'm just using a number. Okay, let's just say $8.
Okay.
Preston, we want to offer you $8, but we're trying for $8.50. And at the time, $8, baby, wasn't doing a goddamn thing for me. And I remember saying, whoo, y'all got that. It's no problem. No love lost, but at the time I had to be selfish for myself and know what I wanted in my career. That I was coming back home with a family that was depending on me. And when I say family, me and my mom depending on me, and that wasn't going to do anything for me. That wasn't even breaking the mold of what I was making at the radio station in Ormond Beach, Florida, and that was part-time. And I'm like, okay, something got to break out. I remember doing as everyone else did at the time, the whole slew of sending out your resume, see what bites back. And I listened to the radio station that I was at, and they were offering
$10?
Let's just say $12 to your $8.
Okay.
And I said, now we are talking. But at the same time, it blew my mind because this was the same Bahamas that preached to young persons or persons who went off for a tertiary education to say, hey, you know, go get your education, whatever, come back and build up your country. Your country can look out for you.
You know, I like to let me put the camera on me right quick.
Zoom in. Check me right here.
I like to tell people, if you ever read Robert's Green book, 48 Laws of Power, one of the laws is to speak the need for change, but not be slow to conform to it. Mm-hmm. So, essentially, they've been gaming with us with that.
Yes.
So you speaking something which you is slow move because it's good to optically look like you're being progressive, but you know,
to give the illusion of progression.
Maybe you can't do it or you don't want to do it, so you can't like openly say that.
Yeah.
So I gotta just save face and say, yes, we're doing the orange economy and the green economy and all these different things, and it's like,
are you?
Yeah.
Hey, are you? But for me, it took me back, and it made me wonder, like, PJ, why'd you come back home? Why was this? And I tried to think about the bigger picture, and then you entered your 4th stage of depression, and it was
only 4 stages.
Listen, it goes up to 10, but I was then on the 4th stage. But I remembered, you know, having to recollect myself, and I said, let me go back to what I know, and I went back to radio. And I said, PJ, what you need to do is take this time to get acclimated back into the country. You're no longer in Daytona Beach, Florida. You're no longer away. Now you need to realize what this is here. I couldn't tell you who an MP was working in news. I couldn't tell you who was in office. And I'm just happy to be alive, you know, a good little time.
Yeah.
And
No, it's good to know who the MP is, though. That's how you get break off.
Now, Jesus, is this my camera here?
Yeah.
Listen, is this my camera here?
Yeah.
Please, I'm waiting for the new day to shine on me. I'm waiting for the new day to shine on me. Like, I didn't know then, but do I know now? Jesus. And I don't regret it. What it did for me working in a radio station, it really had me connected with getting my network up, getting familiar with persons, different organizations out here, and just seeing where the Bahamas was. And it got me to realize that there were a lot of persons speaking really progressively now. So conversations that would happen in Florida, in the States, or elsewhere was now happening here. And it was hopeful. Is it all the way there yet or now?
It ain't moving as fast as we need it to do.
No,
so
it's more of a snail's pace than a nice, comfortable walk.
Yeah.
But yeah, so after giving myself about 3 years in radio and news radio specifically, I went into my corporate world. I went into my corporate life. I became the marketing coordinator for another organization.
Are you still with them now?
I'm still with them now.
Okay.
And it's been cool so far. It's definitely helped me to stretch a whole lot of my profession. I wanted to I always had this idea of giving news for a little time, giving radio a little time, to now saying, like, what does that look like in the corporate world? And I think I've given so much my corporate world that my passion projects have suffered from it. So like my podcast, The Hot Seat with PJ Fuego, I then thought to do that a bit more seasonal. I did that I was going to do it more
we're moving too quick.
We're moving too quick?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
and I'm back.
Before the podcast, didn't you have a blog at one point?
Yes, I did. Wow, you know that.
That's what I'm saying. It's like I said, I this is what I do for how I spend most of my life. I sit back behind a screen and I just watch everything and ingest it, and now I can pull certain things or whatever. So talk a little bit about the blogging, and then was that somewhat inspiration later on the line to start a podcast, because now that became a new instrument to convey your thoughts?
I love that. I love that you brought me back. My blogging days, I used to do it on Tumblr. I used to go by idon'tjustsing.tumblr.com. Because I originally started out doing little YouTube videos, but I won't talk about it. I have trauma. But the blogging part of it was fun. I was more so covering like pop culture, fashion stuff. I used to love like YouTubing different runway shows and seeing like collections and seeing what that looked like. I was really into like urban streetwear, as you see. Yeah. And then being able to have that versatility of like rocking a suit and tie. I think I got that from my dad, and being able to like, I always said being
mix it, like, you know, do someone who could do both.
Do both, or even do them all. If you don't want to just do like streetwear to like professional wear, you can do very casual too. And I used to call them Fuego fashions. So I would do like different photo shoots with like my photographer friends, and we'd post them on my Tumblr. They'd get a lot different likes. I used to contribute a lot to this website called blackfashion.tumblr.com, where I highlighted a lot of black fashionistas, aspiring fashionistas, or people who just felt as though they looked good. And we'd just like post different stuff up there. You talk about your outfit, or even the idea of you talk about different collections. So I started that. That was in 20, I would have been about 17, 18.
Okay.
Feeling that out a little bit. That's when Tumblr really was like really getting to it. I started doing it a bit more once I got away to school, or once I got in like the land of the free, they say.
The land of the milk and honey. Fake milk and honey.
And being a mass comm student, like we were friends with like people who had these cameras ready to go, or people who knew what to do on Photoshop. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. You want to build your portfolio? I'm trying to build mine too. Let's do it. And that started out in that regard. But it was really good. I loved like even doing like underground music too. Big rap fan, and not just rap, but like just the eclectic itself. Yeah, boy. I remember. I'll never forget when Kanye West, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy came out, and I think Lost in the World didn't a track off his album. I think it wasn't streamed anywhere else. And I remember like cutting a copy on YouTube, posting it on my Tumblr, and that got about like 7,000 hits. Like like in a couple days, I said, okay, my first little mini viral moment, I'll take it. But it was fun though. The blogging definitely was different. I think it got me to get into a little bit more of my writing. I even used to do a little birthday blog post that used to be like when I was 17 or when I was 18, or kind of like the show. I don't even remember the MTV show. Let's say when I was 18, they used to like reminisce on things they did then.
Yeah, and they had different ages, like 21 and 25.
Yes. Yeah. So I just do like a daily blog post with that. And then once I got into like doing my poetry, I used that as a platform to really showcase a lot of like either my quick little haikus or short little blurbs, or even like where working at the radio station in away, I used to record a lot of my stuff like after hours, so I'd come in extra early to record a lot of stuff.
So did you ever get a chance to perform your spoken word?
Yes, yes. Actually, I placed second in the Daytona Beach Grand Slam, one of their poetry competitions they had on Beach Street. It was by a guy named Noir Poetry, Noir. Noir. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Anyway,
I have no idea.
Black and French poetry. And they used to have a lot of Beach Street poetry slams, and a gentleman by the name of Dr. David Axelrod was the co-founder of a company called Creative Writers in Daytona Beach, and it had a connection in New York. And pretty much it was a community kind of give back where they help implemented creative writing courses or even extracurricular stuff in different high schools throughout Daytona Beach or Volusia County and in New York. And I remember participating as one of my community efforts on campus, a little event, partnering with them. We raised money for that. And he actually introduced me to a lot of like poetry slams, and it would start off small, and I would go up there with my like big book trying to read. And I remember being kind of self-conscious about my poetry because I would always, write or make your notes or do your little stuff. But in terms of, I think it's a different feeling of reading your poetry aloud. And I remember starting to get a little bit more expressive with my poetry, started speaking about my relationships, my poetry, not name dropping per se, but it was
just spilling the tea.
Yeah, and it was. And I remember it. I performed at this Fresh festival. It was like Fresh broke into an acronym for like fiction reading, educational something books or whatever. And it's a group full of like these fraternity guys, these older folks, and like my two Bahamian friends there. And I'm doing my poem. I have a poem called "So There's This Boy." And by the time I'm done with it, the folks are in the car, both folks in the streets, in the seats are like, "Did he really say that?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's how I know it was good." Like, "Oh, got you whispering, okay." And I think from that reaction, it kind of helped me to lean into being a bit bold with my poetry, kind of having those moments to where you voice stories for persons who feel nervous or who may not have the power to speak up as you. So it's not saying I'm speaking my own stories, but it can be a compilation of different experiences, different stories from my friends, stories for myself, being able to put the voice for the voiceless, kind of people who may be scared to speak on different topics aloud or who may be dealing with the same thing and may not know what to say. So my poetry was that.
Yeah, because I think I saw you. Were you? I was at any point on the miscellaneous tour.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I remember this 2018, and I started realizing because my frame of mind coming back home is I'm coming back from Atlanta.
Yo,
and this is like peak trap music.
Oh yes,
like
don't
so
get me
this
started.
mid 2010. So I'm like, I'm coming back from seeing all of that, and I'm like. Oh, so we have like this underground thing to where everybody, like, well, the hipsters be at.
Where they go to nice speakeasies
and go to this spot and go to that spot. Like, the spots.
Yeah.
Where, or it's like,
they feed into the
we
stigma.
have like how, eventually sound waves became and things like that. So like when I got invited to the miscellaneous store, I think one night it was at 2 Biggity in like downtown. It was like this small space, and then you seen all these like, people don't have the typical Bahamian look, but then that's fine with me because I'm artsy and I'm coming from this space to where I went to art school, so everybody dress how you feel, go express yourself. So just to see other people in that same type of vein, it's like, okay, this is my crowd here.
Yeah.
So like, but how did you feel about like coming back to a space to where you seeing? Obviously, we grew up hearing about how the art scene was in the 60s and 70s and it died out, but seeing the resurgence of new characters and new kids coming up block doing different things, and then they having these ultra super cool monikers, and I'm like, okay, like what y'all doing?
I remember even before I went off to school, I would go to open mics hosted by Renee Caesar. Shout out to Renee.
Yeah. Shout out to Renee.
And we'd be at Bahama Joe's, like when Bahama Joe's was Bahama Joe's, and I used to sing a lot then. I used to go to Via Cafe, sing with the live band.
Actually, I was trying to remember Via's name for the longest. I keep on saying the little bar, Cornerstone.
Hey, that's right there.
Like on the corner.
Like Scotiabank?
Yeah.
Yeah, Via Cafe, they used to have their live band. I think that was like Thursdays and Fridays. I used to go there, and I used to love to sing Rolling in the Deep. They had the live band there. Oh Lord, the gentleman's name is Mr. Lightborn, I think it is.
Who owned Via?
No, not owned Via. I guess he was more so the leader of the band. It was ran by the event that used to have a Via in Bahama Joe's was ran by Michelle.
Okay.
Can't remember Michelle's last name for the life of me, but shout out to Michelle. Nice lady.
A lot of good spots closed because the underground ain't even open no more.
The underground isn't even open anymore.
Yeah,
oh my gosh! Don't even get me started. I remember. Shout out to Sound Waves too. Sound Waves is really my first introduction back onto the scene. As a poet, I remember Tim coming up to me.
Yeah, because you perform at the festival.
Yes. I remember, and I only got into Sound Waves because I have a cousin, P. Dillon. He used to go out and perform a lot there, and we did like a little set where we'd be home, and we had this thing called the cover game, where you play any instrumental, let's say acoustic, whatever, and the objective of the game is to sing a song, and you have to repurpose the mood of the song. And we used to play around with that, and we came up with a little concoction that was like Bad and Bougie mixed with Redbone by Childish Gambino.
Okay.
You won't get me to sing it now, but shout out to it's on the Tumblr page if you want to check it out.
Oh, you still have the Tumblr?
I do. I changed the name to PJ now.
Oh wow.
But it's up there.
Okay.
But that was kind of the introduction, and I used to look forward to Sound Waves and still do. That was, I think, once a month or once a quarter or so, where we started out singing there. I was able to still have that like musical feel that I still love. Even the chance to when he introduced me as a poet slot, I said, okay, I don't mind. Like, I got 15 minutes to bang out. I could do this. And we started out on that. It was this community. Shout out to D'Angelo Wimes too, how he kind of really reminded me what it was in terms of his poetry sessions he used to have when I would come home for like different breaks. Was definitely something that it wasn't far-fetched in terms of where it started from, but it was appreciated to see how opening it became. It went from just doing poetry at these new age sets or underground or
the whole like hole in the walls, like the hipster alley type of
they
thing.
evolved now to, oh Lord, what's it?
Like you got Fiona, like, you know,
Out West Studio Cafe.
Cafe. I know Tunisia just had a thing at
yes.
Yeah.
And then I think they had their previous miscellaneous poetry tour that was at the recent one that was at Pink Octopus.
Pink Octopus is out
east.
Yeah. Palm Key. Yeah. Okay.
They had it there, and honestly, I love it because now it's evolving from poetry to now like rap, and you see a lot of artists using that moment
live instrumentation.
Yeah, live instrumentation.
Because they have the nights at Bon Vivant too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this idea of people not having, I guess, their own take on their musical preference or musical genre. You have persons who are really in a safe space to step out their box in these new open mics or these new like creative spaces now too. So shout out to them.
Yeah, what I loved about what I saw, and I met a lot of great friends from that, and that's sort of inspired me to create platforms to showcase this, was the quote unquote Bahamian creative isn't something that you can put in a $1.
Right.
It checks a whole plethora of things. So like, I remember I was at Sound Waves last year, and I just was sitting, like, this stand-up is, I always have these moments to myself, and I'm like, bro, I literally standing there, and I seen Foreign Sound play rock music.
Yeah, okay? Like, and people are going crazy.
Yeah, and I was like, I can't, like, just, I've heard them play a bunch of times, been following them for years, but it's like, at that moment, it's like, that's amazing, like, you know.
No, and I love the fact that they can, like, Foreign Sounds, Pineapple Down, like all those like little bands and stuff, they are really making their mark. Yeah. When people think of these open nights, these open mic spots, they think of them. They like when you hear music, you instantly can think that, oh, Charlie Fox can be there, or insert any other band member name there. And they have that type of pull, so I love that for them, honestly.
Yeah, or like, you know, I remember, I think, was it last year or the year before? No, it was the year before. I went to Sherwood's studio and heard his last album, and like he played the whole thing for me, and it's just like, and I was crying in that session because I'm like, bro, I only crying because it's like more people should hear this. Like, you know, like I want this. You just put this out and then it just goes to away. Nothing, But I love that, you know, he's still working the records, playing the records, and when people hear it, it's like, you know, because the music too good.
Yeah,
like you know, I want thousands and millions of people to see this and hear this, and that's why I feel like, I wasn't around in the 50s and 60s where all of the great Bahamian musical and artistic acts was out, but I feel like we are back in that golden era again.
Yeah.
But it's just for this age.
I think where every period of time or even history, we go through a certain renaissance, a rebirth of art, a rebirth of style, fashion, rebirth of thinking. And I think we've experienced enough creative renaissances, if that's a word, renaissances, in the Bahamas, especially in the creative community, coming from an era of persons who would have known like the Bahama Joe's days to now like Soundwave days, even to an idea of what miscellaneous tour was then, pre-pandemic to what it is post-pandemic too, you know? So it's that idea of how things constantly evolve and how you used to have like mom and dad, like my mom used to love going to, what's that? Oh Lord. Travelers Rest?
Yeah.
Travelers Rest once upon a time used to have open mic there too.
Travelers West still?
They still do?
Yeah, they have a live band, but I know Sherwood recently started the So Far Sound series where you do pop-up shows around the island with different genres and things like that. So it'd be like a situation where, a speakeasy situation where you book the ticket, you wouldn't know where it is, and then they'll send you an email to be like,
the day come here. Or like,
come here. And it's like, you know, I went to the one when they had it at Sapodilla.
Okay.
Or whatever. And it's like, okay, yeah, you had to get the link to come in. So I had this mysterious
exclusivity.
Thing. And then there was one where he had Gino D actually perform. So infusing the old with the new. Yeah, so I was like, you know, I didn't get a chance to go to the last couple of shows that they did, but you know, it's a really great concept.
I know. I absolutely love it. And I think at the time for me, when I moved back home, that was such a safe space because we would literally just come together and we'd do music or we'd write songs or have this idea of writing poetry. Well, my cousin and his friends were like rappers.
Because I think I never met PeeJae in person, but I think we messaged each other about potentially collabing over the years.
Yeah.
So,
and it used to be a nice little bunch of us. We come over, create the vibe, set it out, and really just kind of like a little show and tell of what you got now, what are you working on, how could we help, how can we better this. A nice little safe space and community, but as time goes, people grow up. And I just got corporate as a bitch. I'm not even going to hold you.
Okay. So... what inspired the podcast?
The podcast was inspired. Get this. I don't know if I should say this, but let me give you exclusive, I guess. I had a kind of moment with a particular radio station, not the one that I was at.
Okay.
A particular radio station, station managers particularly, who...
Bro, I just want to interject. This was created off a series of those moments. Well, everything I've done.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you something. I'm gonna learn you really quick.
Yeah, no, you just tried to tell me like, cool. Oh, you got your big one, but now watch me.
Yeah.
So at that time, it was one of the things where this particular station manager ended up telling a colleague of mine to say, I guess that he wants me banned from the station. That
hold on.
Banned from the station.
Banned from the station for what?
Banned from the station because I can't help the way I act. That he wouldn't want to give the wrong impression that this station caters to my demographic, whatever that may be. No one's putting a name to these things.
Okay.
So I said, ooh, okay. I said, what is the demographic? I am young, black. I am within a certain age. So and obviously at the time, it was kind of that close-minded, not even at the time, that was kind of that close-minded type of persona.
Uh-huh.
And it took me aback, like honestly made me really tight. It really shook me a little bit, and it shook my confidence a little bit to where I didn't think that, because on the streets it could be one thing, or if you're at a bar or whatever and people say whatever, that can be something. But in my job, I think in my work, where it was really providing that kind of like that impact in your community, in your field, and I was like, wow, boy, you said me, wow. And I said, you know what, it's cool. I remember resigning shortly after, not because of that. But
so you worked there. The place where you worked was trying to ban you?
Trying to ban me. Not where I worked, but just to give clarity, because I don't give too much names.
But
if you know, you know. Where I originally worked had multiple stations in one.
Okay. So one sector of the station, or one of the brands, because it's an umbrella type of situation.
Yes.
Okay.
If you know, you know.
Okay.
But seeing that.
So one of the I guess sister stations. They didn't want you over on their side.
Yes, and wanted to ban me and because of the way I acted.
Okay.
Not even acted.
Presented.
But, no, not even, because it's shit.
Okay.
I wasn't like taking off a wig or something. But, but he ended up mentioning and verbatim said that because I can't help the way I act. And I was like, oh, whatever that would mean. And I remember saying that I didn't need no one to give me a chance on a station. I felt as though I was cool for what it was and making mark for what I was doing, and more so trying to help you out and getting shit in my face. And it was like, okay, no worries. And it took that with a grain of salt, and I took that to the idea of saying, like, you know what? I thought back to when I was moving back home, and as I mentioned, like being fearful of losing that spark. And I said, you ain't lost it. You got it. Time to show them. It's like all the shit you don't, you could do it yourself. So I remember I was doing a photo shoot, and I remember asking the photographer, I'm like, can you just record this? I can edit everything else. I just need you to record it for me. And I remember recording my intro, doing my little preview, creating my graphic, doing my preview flyers. I remember then tapping into a good wealth of like friends and network at that time when it really got to filming. So shout out to DJ Beats. Shout out to
Actually, I went to school with DJ Beats.
Yes, DJ Beats. Oh my goodness, that is such a talented young man. Oh my good God. Yeah. Shout out to Prince Blyden as well too, with Needle Bee Productions, and they really supported me, dog. They got me into my first intro episode in terms of Meet the Host episode. I recorded 6 episodes, released 5. I'm sitting on 1 because I still feel a little uneasy about it, but I'm sitting on 1.
Yeah, you told me.
So it's one of those things where I want to have faith in myself. I want to see what is it that PeeJae can do without being affiliated with anybody or without that affiliation of a feature or a co-host. Like, trust your magic, and it doesn't have to be anything that's where I'm competing with anybody or even the idea of I'm comparing myself to anybody. I wanted to really run my own race. So I came up with the hot seat with PJ Fuego, kind of a behind the scenes look into persons, individual lives who are prominent in their fields. I had the National Empress on to have a conversation. I had Sawyer Boy for my opening episode, Natural Empress, and then I had someone else. Oh my God, I can't remember. I'm so sorry. But in between my hot seat conversations, I used to have panel discussions.
Yeah, I think it was on Instagram Live.
Yeah.
Okay.
The panel discussions I used to have, and I call them hot talks, where we attack different topics. And at the time, it was dating in the pandemic. It was bad bosses, millennials in the workplace. It was even the idea of how would you feel about like moving back home, career-wise. I tried to give it a little different spice of everything. And at the time, I'm sure you can relate to being a one-man team at the time, because it's like I didn't want to press beats to have to record all my stuff. And it's like, okay, let me just get this out of the way, set me up in the studio time. I could always record and chop it up. It became a lot trying to balance edit time, to meet my own deadlines, to meet my release dates, and kind of different pressures you put on yourself. And it's like, geez, I don't want to watch anybody, but this person's coming out like weekly, and I'm like, fuck, like, okay.
That person had a team, bro.
Yeah, bro. And I realized, I said, boy, when you a one-man band, you got to give yourself some grace. And I took a step back and I did. And I thought about it, and I said, P, like, you ain't racing with nobody, and you have to keep reminding yourself of that. You're not a competition with anybody. Not that it's saying that you're better than them, but you're not in competition. You can support other people and not compare. You can give your 10 to other people and not feel threatened. And it was one of those things like, listen, take a step back, let's think about it. And when I thought about it, I said, let's just do a summer series. I released it on my birthday, actually. June 30th, I released my intro episode and did it every Wednesday from then. So moving forward, when it comes back out now, stay tuned. It's going to be a summer series.
Okay.
I'm going to bring back for my birthday one more time again. Bigger and better, more of a hoorah. So I'm planning now. There's power in pre-recording your stuff, everybody. So that's a note.
Yeah, most definitely. Because
that's a note to my 26-year-old self.
Because what you could possibly do, because some podcasts are seasonal, and they'd be like, okay, well, what you could do is just release a caseload of things every summer.
Yeah.
And just have discussions around it.
Listen, that was, I think, the easiest thing for me at that time. It was, I felt as though I was like trying to throw my hat in the game to run a race. And it was one of those things where I'm super proud of what I did with it. Super passionate about it and happy about it, because it was one of the things like, boy, Peter, you did that. Like, in terms of when I look back on the edits of my graphics, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like, boy, you really put your foot in that one. And not that doesn't stop you with having room to grow, but at the time, like the hate turned me to a monster. Shout out to Meek Mill. It really got me to shook. And I'm like, you know what? Take your 5 seconds to cry about it. Take your 5 gangster seconds to do what you need to do. If you need to scream about it or cry or, be quiet about it, that's no problem. But at the end of the 5 seconds, you need to know what you're doing.
Okay.
And I took that moment in my career, honestly, because I have it as a defining moment in my career, to say, hey, you're talented, dog. You got to remember that. You got to trust your magic. And I always say to people now, like, trust your magic. You magical, like, trust your magic. And trust my magic proved to me, like, hey, you can roll something else. So imagine what it looks like with the team.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
What's what's the similarities and differences with doing podcasts and doing radio to you?
I think with podcasts, it gives you a bit more liberty and a bit more safe space to speak. I think with radio, you still, in some essence, have to be politically correct, especially depending on which station you're on, what topic you're speaking on. But with podcasts, I feel as though kind of like, let's say the radio could be suit and tie, podcast, I can like loosen up my tie and we can have like a cocktail now. Because it gives more of a tabletop conversation, like bar crawl type of conversation, kind of like the after discussions to a meeting. Like where you can speak unfiltered, you can actually speak a bit more
in jest.
Yeah, like I don't have to say I'm Preston Ferguson Jr. I don't have to speak like that. I can say, well, as PeeJae, like I wasn't fucking with that. Like, I'm not here to disagree with your points, and thank you, caller, so much for calling on in. But like, I answer that like I said this because X, Y, and Z. Or you can speak a bit more passionately or use a little bit of fluff words like I like to do sometimes. Yeah, I think podcasting is a bit more, you can touch on even more you can touch on topics that you feel as though aren't being discussed on the radio as right now, or even give a bit more insight to it that people may be scared to go into, different levels or different chapters, or even surface conversations to them taking a deep dive instead.
Because what I feel like, because I produce a TV show currently. If you know, you know.
Right. Pop your shit. That's okay.
If you hear somebody calling my name on live TV, then you know. I can say the name just because.
Yeah, I'm on the edge for the name drop, okay?
But, from doing that show, I just seen, because the guests would come on that show and be like, oh, that was too quick, or we ain't really getting the time. I'm like, bro, this is a TV show. This is mainly a 58
really, yeah,
second, 58-minute block, really, and without commercials most of the time. It times out to 48 minutes if you don't have 6-minute blocks.
Yeah.
So, but how I like that people are now, their minds are now getting geared to how to consume long formatted products and things like that. Because now everybody like, an hour, that's too short. I need 3 hours of just straight talk.
Yeah, no.
And especially if you're going to start getting into things and going in. And then you got me on the edge of my seat for more than an hour.
Yeah.
So, like, because I always tell that host, you need your own podcast. Because you trying to get all these things and we have a time limit. But you still have a willing audience that would listen to you for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Then it's like you have to switch platform. Because that don't work in a TV.
Yeah, that sure doesn't. I remember premiering at the time the radio station with a podcast platform, because it was one of those things where a lot of callers would love to call in, and people wouldn't have a chance to re-listen to it, or like there was no other platform for re-airing rather than the station. There wasn't any online like going back and listening back to. And I'm like, you need a podcast. Like we need a podcast. We need a podcast platform to where we post these things. People can stream. People can get it instantly if they missed it that day or that morning or during the airtime. You can come back to here you are. You can listen in your car, on your radio, or on your laptop, wherever else. And I remember like feeling as though that people wouldn't do it, but after it got so booming, like people were calling like the podcast isn't uploaded yet, it isn't up to date. I'm like, oh, 1 sec, I got you. Check me in 5 minutes, it's uploading. And I think at the time. You have an audience that a lot of people want to talk, but they aren't conscious to a lot of like media rules. Like people don't know about the like IRCA demands at least
with the censorship and certain things like that.
6-minute blocks of ad space. If you have like, depending on the length of your show, if it's TV or if it's radio. Well, radio, they just let it fly. But yeah, I think the difference with podcasting and radio is that with radio, certain time limits, as you said, ad spots even, I think being politically correct. Yeah. But in podcasting, I think you can amplify your time a bit more.
And it doesn't have to be this big budget effort.
No.
It could be something homey like this.
You say not a big budget, and I'm looking at motherfucking 3 cameras, 2 boom mics, my ambient lighting, stage lighting here. Yeah, no.
But it could be literally
it could be like this, or it could be something else.
Yeah, or you could just be literally you could go over on StreamYard. One person have one background, the next one person have background, and then use the stream either that for video and then stitch together the audio and then call it a day.
Well, people don't know that trick, that's what I did for my podcasting too. I used to do the StreamYard, but we'd be in different rooms just so it gives a different look.
Yeah.
That you're zooming in or you're coming in from a different place, and then we'll just tie the audio in.
Yeah. Or it's all kind of different tricks. Or let's say, for instance, we'll use, I can even fake the StreamYard. I'll just, let's say, use Google Meet so where we can see each other, and then I just point a camera in front of each other's face. Hey, just look at directly at the camera. And we just using all that reference, and then we just edit it like
it's a StreamYard.
Yeah.
Oh, you are very crafty. I like that.
So it's like it's all kind of ways to fake or whatever. Like, so then you have the whole conversation like a call back, and now we have scratch audio.
Yeah, I think with podcasting or even being in media now, it takes a lot of talent. But it takes a whole lot more finesse.
Yeah,
I think the finessing of how people can curate sets out of nothing or see a corner of the room and be like, Phew.
Yeah,
and it looks like a
blocking and this and that, like,
we do a lot at work, and listen, at work we
it's sorcery, bro.
We be making magic, baby. Yeah. Especially with our production sets. So when I'm tired of looking at one thing in so many different campaigns, I'm like, no, we need to make this look different.
Yeah.
And I think with a whole lot of finesse, I think you can get a lot of achieved with, like when you were saying earlier, like you want to change this, I'm like, shit, I am cool. This is legit for me.
Yeah, well, I always say, I'm like, bro, I tired of seeing these pictures. Okay, we get new posters. And I'm like, I'm gonna take this, put this over here, and then put these panels.
I'm like Michael Jordan and shits. Okay, this is my camera here again. This is my camera here again.
So it's like, especially with, I have this insatiable creative appetite. It's like, all right, well, I know how I can make this or take this corner and make it look like this, put this plant here and then take this over here. And then it's like, hit this light with this, and then boom, a whole different other set. So, that's just the magic of filmmaking, and just, especially when you are operating on a budget, you're just trying to make the most out of the least. So,
I remember in Daytona during that postgraduate season where I'm done with school, waiting for my OPT to clear, a job hasn't called in yet, so all I got is time. And my friends, we do like different creative stuff. We do like, I used to call them like fashion music videos, because it wasn't really like you sing or anything, but it was more of like this when Instagram had the videos for about 15 seconds. And we do like different hot songs that were going on then. We'd say, grab your camera, we're going to the park. Grab your camera, we're going by the beach or by the skate park. And we just do like different creative stuff. Building his portfolio, but at the same time, like getting our creative juices off, And I think people in those moments, they lack a little finesse when it's time, like when people think of like building their demo reel or building different things. I'm like, boy, you and a couple of creative friends could get together and do your thing. You'd be so surprised.
Because that's how, for at AI, we had to have a portfolio. So it consisted of multiple projects. And when I was up against a deadline, I just was trying to whip up anything to make it into something to make sense. So I think one commercial we did about recycling and doing this. And then I think around that same time was when I came up with the idea of turning video game characters into real people.
Yes.
So that was the genesis of that, and obviously years later it full bloomed into what exactly they're doing.
Yes.
Now. So it's like, because it was just thinking, okay, how can I think outside the box and do something that's never been done? Mm-hmm. And then it's like, okay, well, what do I have an affinity for the most? And then you just go from there. Or like, we're Bahamians in we celebrate Junkanoo every year. So it's like they're taking scraps and parts and things and then joining it together, understanding the different elements of art, whether it be space or light or different color, what's complementary to certain things and stuff like that.
Yeah. It definitely kind of feels so many different pockets of being creative, and it kind of like checks that list off too. To say like, you know, you're not just in a pocket of doing just videography, but you're creative directing, like you're envisioning. You could see it when no one else can see it. Like when people talk about having that eye, and it's really just being able to see the purpose in different spots and seeing the purpose of what you want the vision to look like already. So when it comes to like different projects, creative projects, or even the idea of when me and my friends we're pitching the different creative ideas. Nowadays, I only pitch them inside marketing campaigns. But
so let's get into it, because you know I worked in marketing and advertising for 4 years.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Yeah, that was before I got into broadcasting.
I would say, how old are you?
I'm 31.
Slay. Okay.
So
I'm 31 as well.
Yeah. So you know, because when I moved back home, I worked at an advertising agency.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So you know, my concentration is film, but this period of time was in advertising. I've been in broadcasting for the last 2. So it's just getting a feel and everything. So when I put it in a pot, it's like, all right, I can pull from this bag, this bag, this bag. But how has, I guess, radio and being a creative sort of influenced you now being a marketer?
It definitely influenced me in terms of I remember in radio, I was always focused on how broadcasters or even journalists, even back in like my pre-TV days, how you tell a story and being able to tell the story of people, tell your own story. It was one of those things I didn't want to just pocket myself and just being the cool guy on Free Your Mind, or like the other.
So you was on Free Your Mind?
I was on Free Your Mind.
Oh, it makes sense now. That's why he's so popular.
Oh, so it was when I'm ready to pop my shit, I go to Free Your Mind.
Okay.
Shout out to Natural Empress. But I remember when I went to take the corporate route, I remembered not wanting to. I wanted to prove myself a little bit more, prove that the boys still got the guts, that I can take my creative juices from these different pockets of my life, my career, from radio, TV, even some aspects of my poetry as well too, and you can take that to marketing to help tell a story of different organizations in a creative way, in a compelling way, in a way that still reaches the desired goals, and company-wise and all the business logistical stuff and analytics and all that yada yada yada. But at the same time, it touches the human. Like it speaks to people, dog. I love to make my campaigns about people because it's easier to relate to someone than something. When I say someone that looks like you, someone that's going through the same things as you, who may share the same story as you, in comparison to me trying to sell you this idea of insert highfalutin topic here in business or economics, and you don't feature that from a day-to-day basis. That doesn't come before you on an everyday basis, so it'll be different telling that story. So, hit me.
Yeah, so because I think with the advent of social media, people for me, what I noticed, like just coming into marketing in 2017, everybody, from a corporate sense, wanted to have more things that speak to the human experience.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to sell, everything got to feel personable.
Yeah.
And that goes to even your social media content. If other people can't relate, it's not going to go viral.
It's not going to kick.
Or whatever. Whether it be good, bad, funny, or sad, if other people can't connect to it in mass,
what's it really doing?
Yeah, it's not doing anything.
And it's in those growing moments too. I wouldn't say that in college my focus was television and radio broadcastings. And with having about like 7-8 years of that experience, I've been in marketing for about 3 years now. So being able to kind of feel my way out to even grow in the field now too, because I wouldn't say it's been easy. I walked in like, oh, got this, it's ready to roll. Here are my successful campaigns. I've been in meetings and been shot down, fresh out the sky. But using that kind of that grit and that same type of finesse, as I keep calling it, trusting the magic.
The finesse.
Yes.
I think that's going to be titled to the episode.
Yes, the finesse. And being able to say, hey, don't like, I have a Psalms that I say every day when I'm feeling down. Can I share that with you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is this my camera here?
Yes.
Please put your hands together and all heads bowed, all eyes closed. And then whenever you feel the world is weighing on your shoulders a bit too heavy, or the day feels a little bit too heavy for you, and you have, in layman's terms, haters coming at you left and right. My Jesus, let's pray.
Yes.
I am a bad, so the, and if the gets slick, you gotta cut the. Oh Jesus, I am a bad. So that, and if them get slick, you better cut. I will gut up the dug up. I am still dragging her, so please don't pick up. Amen.
I don't think the father, you think the God is be listening to that?
Oh my Jesus. He don't let me down, so listen. I don't know if he wants to admit to listening, but he sure don't deny it when he gets to praying. But no.
We definitely clipping that.
Yeah, no, listen. Please let us pray. That is a Psalms 91 remix that I just love to throw in the mix when I'm feeling, the spirit of the devil just trying to get me, Jesus. It's getting me to forget who I am, and then I remind myself, you are a bad, so them. Is this? Yeah, Emma, you guys hear me.
Yeah, most definitely.
But it's in those moments, I think, with my corporate life now, and I keep relating to my corporate life because I now have to call myself Preston Ferguson Jr. I now have to draw my full name. I remembered one time we had an event for work, and I'm on the flyer, and my full name is there. I had a friend message me. He says, PJ, you need the P for Preston? And I'm like, it is. He's like, all my life I only knew you as PJ Fuego. And I'm like, wow. Yeah, sorry, that's not my passport. But Preston's my real life name. Preston.
No, I'm saying you saying that's not on your passport?
No, PJ Fuego is not on my passport. Sorry to ruin the fantasy.
That's okay. I go by many names, so
yes. I believe I go by my many names, and they all have different. They all exist in different spaces. So
yeah, most
my
definitely.
PJ Fuego doesn't exist in my corporate life, and I would rather Preston Ferguson not be in my social life, where PJ Fuego kind of runs rampant.
Man. So I can completely understand that.
So it's definitely been a journey. It's certainly been a journey. When I look back to TV days in college, open mics at Bahama Joe's, to see where we've grown now in poetry. I remember releasing a low poetry mixtape myself too in 2016. Okay. I entitled it maybe 4 or 5 low spoken word pieces, and at the time it wasn't mastered. It was just raw. Put out a project, and I created different cover arts for each one, and I entitled the project "Let the Boy Speak." And it was kind of like that moment of stepping into my own voice, stepping into myself, how I felt on different topics, being able to grow from that to now, Jesus, to going from coming back home and trying to get into news and realizing that wasn't for me. Like that was not the flavor for me.
You wasn't. What have you ever with the you wasn't rocking with that flow? I mean, if you would, it just wasn't it.
It just wasn't. It didn't land the same way for me.
It wasn't given.
It wasn't giving Anderson Cooper, and I was trained. I was trained for Anderson Cooper. I wanted to be Van Jones. I wanted to give Rachel Amato, and it gave more. Wow, I can't even describe it, but it gave very Hunger Games journalistic style.
It wasn't rocking with the flow.
No, they want to have me out in Parliament Square, and I'm like, how do you, sir? Can we talk on what the ease of access or the ease of business? I don't know about the ease of freaking business at the time. I'm like, I do my own research too. Like Jesus, I think recognizing that I needed growth was good in that moment, because I would hate to grow blind and think whatever I touch is gold. And I'm like, oh, I'm doing a popping job. And I'm on national TV mixing up Brent Simonette's name. Like, sorry.
That's crazy.
But I'm happy to, I've grown now. I now know who Brent Simonette is. Thank you.
Oh, man.
Maybe a day too late, but hey, I know now. And being able to have that impact on radio to, from, like I mentioned, from Hurricane Dorian, that moment, that was a eye-opening moment because people then were familiar with me from answering the phone as a producer, and I didn't think people would remember shit like that, or I wouldn't think something like that would have such an impact to like, oh, y'all know it's me? Okay. To then even making that shift and kind of taking that gamble on yourself to say, I'm comfortable with radio, I'm comfortable with TV, I want to see myself grow. I want to expand a bit more within my career to not just being the boy, the personality, just being this guy who makes has one or two little fashionable posts. I want to be more. I want to feel more, be more, and impact on a grander scale. I keep using the word impact because I felt as though I wanted to have the same impact I had while in college. And it's kind of like, the stories of persons who catch a wave in college or catch a wave in a certain area of their lives.
Some people peak in college.
Yeah.
Some people peak in high school.
And they can't they always go back to college days. And I said, I want to say that I'm a little bit more popping than just my college days. College was fun. I want to say I can do a little bit more in my nowadays. And I honestly feel as though I've been topping myself since then. Like I mentioned, I don't want to have this idea of being in competition with anybody, being jealous of anybody. I want to be able to run my own race. I want to be able to do my own thing and pop my own shit, honestly. I think with kind of like maneuvering with blinders on, in a sense of I see my peers, I see my people, I see my village, but I don't need to see the distractions that come with them. I don't need to see how, as humans or even as a Cancerian, what's your zodiac sign?
I'm a Libra.
Oh, okay, cool. They cool. My mom's a Libra. Shout out. But as a Cancer, I'm a little bit more sensitive. And I recognize, and I think it's growth in recognizing how I feel, how I may come across, and being honest with, having the safe space to be honest with myself and my friends, those two. I remembered I was at a point in my college career that my best friend at the time, we were going off the same stuff, and it would have been like he would get it and I wouldn't get it. Oh, this would happen. We do the same thing. This would happen to him. This would happen for me. And I remembered saying to myself, like, damn, PJ, like this is my really good Judy. Shout out to Judy. This is my really good friend. And I don't want to ruin this moment with your own selfish feelings of, oh, it should have been me. Oh, we could have been doing this. Like, no, like, learn how to support people and know when your time is.
Bro, for sure.
I had to catch myself, and I'm like, bro, I don't want to be envious because this is my really good friend, and it really took time to really think to myself to say, hey, it's okay for you to feel like this, like you don't like that 5 gangster seconds. Like, do what you need to do, whatever that looks like. But at the end of that, you know what that looks like for your reality, for yourself, for you moving forward. That if your intentions are in the good place or are in a place where they're not malicious, like, you can grow. Like, you won't have the self-sabotage type of spirit to even infiltrate you, or this sense of this hating spirit to even ruin your friendships, of ruin connections, networks. Clap for people in their moment, because your moment is bound to come. And
because whatever is for you is for you, and whatever is for me
and I'm like, I want people to clap for me just as loud too. If I'm shouting, lose my voice in the back.
No, but that's something that I learned around the time coming back home, was to, well, even probably a little bit before that, was it's good to learn to be happy for other people.
Yeah.
Because when you think, because your life is not about you. No. Your life is about how you impact others. So being happy for others and celebrating others, the energy, that positive energy you push out, you're going to get back tenfold. Yeah. So once you leave with that, you always gonna get it. Bro.
And listen, it's actively or even moving with intention, intentfully knowing that, hey, this isn't You're human. You could feel that. Like, like that could sting a little bit. Or you even could say, like you may not feel the best right now, but at the same time, you're feeling you'd want to make sure that doesn't rain on anybody's parade, dog. Like I never want to be a negative Nancy. I never want to be that guy from the friends or the quote unquote friend group that you can't celebrate each other.
You basically a sourpuss.
Yeah, like people scared to bring up good news around you. Like, man, no, like, boy, tell me, like, I need some good news too. Like, hit me. And it's in those. You are a big bottle drinker too. Mm-hmm. Yes, can I be? Give me like a cheers, please. Mm-hmm. Yes, people laugh at me with my big bottles. Yes, thank you for the water break. But yeah, it's in the moment. Always being mindful of being happy for others. And I think that's something I learned in my mid-20s to know that your time is always coming when you're actively working towards something, even in the idea of if you believe in God, praying for something. It's you can't look at the struggle or the interim as a definition or as a defining moment for yourself. It's one of the things you have to want better, expect better, and do better for yourself too. While also still trying to be happy for people, dog. Like, because that type of energy doesn't come back around, and when it doesn't come back around in the way you think it does.
No, it doesn't.
So it's just being mindful of that.
So before we wrap up, what is up next for you? You know, on your journey.
Oh, hit me! It's my camera here again, right?
Yeah.
I thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on Erryting Kool this day. It's your boy PJ Fuego. Next up, I plan to marry very rich.
Oh no.
And with marrying very rich, I will be eloping to Venezuela. Thank you so much. ¿Cómo estás? Muy bien, gracias.
Hello, why Venezuela?
Just because it's nowhere for these go.
Okay.
Yes, because these bitches ain't never been there. So I look forward to doing so with the love of my life, whatever that may look like. Thank you. But seriously,
because I was gonna say you counting on Venezuela taking back.
It doesn't even be Venezuela; it can also be Santorini, Greece. So either or. I'm not picky on where the destination is, as long as I need a passport to get there, and it's 5+ hours to get there. Thank you. But in all seriousness, though, the boy's getting back into TV. Honestly, I want to get back into my hosting gig. So this year I have a lot of stuff planned out.
I see you doing the Love and R&B for the culture.
Shout out to For the Culture, Dante. Those working along with them for their social media campaign leading up to the party. Outside of that, I'm going to be hosting the Elevation Awards, the nominations awards, launch. I think it is. And a couple other stuff I'm cooking up. I can't speak on yet, but I'm happy to have the opportunity to mix my corporate life, my creative life, to now have my passion projects back again. So I'm launching a lot of different hosting gigs in reference to small businesses and throughout here in the Bahamas, and being able to give back in that regard. Where I can give back to the small business community, but at the same time, still tap into what I love to do, man. Like that creative arts, the TV. Like I think the office job is cool and it's good for my insurance. Shout out to the insurance.
Good for NIB too.
Good for NIB and good for my insurance. But it's like, listen, like in a perfect world, I'd love to go back to TV. I'd love to do TV full time, storyboarding, pitching ideas, brainstorming different concepts. Like that's what I want to get back into. But in the meantime, between time, since that isn't paying the bills, not yet at least, I'm having a fine medium of my passion projects and mixing my corporate, my creative life, and now going back into TV. Look out for the Hot Seat with PJ Fuego, season 2, the second podcast, just to get back into that. There's some other projects I can't speak on, so I'm saying but I'm trying to think of stuff I can speak on yet.
Just say more.
More to come. Just keep up with the boy. Make sure you follow the boy. That's PeeJaeFuego. Count to 5 and look alive, everybody. Sometimes it feels heavier in the past, but I promise you there's a brighter future to you.
That was a mouthful. But thanks again, PJ, for stopping by. This is something that we've been planning to do for like when Gary thing was like 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, and then we were supposed to film at like insert time here. I came like an hour later, so my apologies for my tardiness.
I mean, it's a part of the process. I just find something to entertain myself.
I never want to be that guy. Hashtag. But no, thank you so much for having me, and I always want to empower you to, as from one fellow creative, like you doing your goddamn thing. Like, oh my gosh, like. You are doing your goddamn thing, and I really want to make sure that you know that you have your kudos, you have your flowers in the now, dog.
Thank you.
Like no one needs to give you that. You don't need an award for that. You got that. You've been the most consistent from even before we even got the chance to know each other till I was seeing you now and seeing the amount of work and seeing your work before I even got a chance to meet you even speaks for itself beyond the type of work that you put out. So shout out to you, dog.
Thank you
Lord
so much.
Lord J in the building. Are y'all done?
Yeah, we got so much more. Stay tuned. All the platforms on the road to 100. I think this episode 98.
Oh, can I be 98?
I think this is 98.
Okay.
No, I think it was... I believe on this check. This
okay, let's check. So I can be lucky number 98 if I need to get a jersey with it. Yeah.
Hold on. Going on Erryting Kool page.
Okay.
Not there you go. Yes, this will be episode 98. And we are 2 away from 100. Who will be 99?
Dang.
I still got to figure that out. I still got to figure out what I can do for 100. Yeah. So closer to the 5th year anniversary Erryting Kool.
That is so popping. 5 years. How do you do it? What's your secret?
Right? Just reinvent. And just want to share stories. And just knowing when to take breaks, come back, rejuvenated, see things from different perspectives, go out into the world and experience it, but sometimes lock yourself away and experience that. So it's a combination of things and then just shifting.
What's the most difficult part about it?
The most difficult part is probably just not getting paid for it all. Like, a good example of that is when Pauline Davis was here last week.
Yeah.
She was like, y'all get paid for this? I'm just like, we at a point where now we comfortable in saying, okay, we done this body of work. Mm-hmm. The product is already proven.
So if you're looking to sponsor Erryting Kool, we definitely have sponsor slots here. So please feel free to, check us out. If you like some product placement, in-kind sponsorship, even financial stuff, we're looking forward to that. So shout out to Erryting Kool. Please hit us up. Contact information right here. Can't miss it. Yeah. Check us out for all your sponsorship needs as well.
All of that stuff from Chosen Few Studios. But yeah, right, that's a part of it. But then the other hard part is just being, I guess, motivated.
Yeah.
Because I always say this, everybody want to make a podcast and don't understand this
the
ain't
work
no
that
sprint.
Oh my
This is a marathon. And I've seen a lot of podcasts start either before me or started when I started or started after me and they're no more. So
Listen, I right now I fall into that little category. So I'll own that. I'll wear that shade properly.
No, but I ain't no shade. But it's like I seen it. But it's
if it's a fact.
No, but it's like because people don't pace themselves out. It's no way, and that's why 2 of our cartoons only records once a month because they was like, oh, let's just record every week. I'm like,
no.
Let's try at least. We'd barely be able to try to record once a month. So I'm like, I'm not upping this until this could be consistent and obviously, payola comes into play to where I let people I'm a little bit more incentivized. But it's like, yeah, and then, the audience ain't that big to be consuming that amount of content anyway. Yeah. So that's how a lot of people burn themselves out too, because you're putting out all this stuff. And then when you finally catch heat, you burned out because you don't put a lot of your material has been unheard. Yeah. Or what you could do is just go listen and then re-record.
I always say take a different approach to different topics too. So it's always been, you could do like a part 2 to reintroduce your part 1 and then you're bringing fresh voices on the same topic.
Yeah. Or like, that's why we stopped talking about relationships. And I'm like...
Yeah, that gets boring. Not boring, but it can get stagnant.
It gets tiring because it's
if it's the same thing.
Back in 2021.
I leave that for my free my mind.
Yeah, it's like, okay, how much times we could talk about who was the prize? Like,
how much times you talk about should a guy pay for a date? Okay, it was 2024.
Yeah, like, oh, what's the best place to go? Like, we're like, nah, let's go get to the real. Let's share these real stories. Let's reflect on people's lives. Let's share some experiences that inspire others who listen.
Do you believe that Valentine's is a woman's holiday?
I think it's a holiday to make money from, just like Christmas.
But is it for women?
Yeah. I mean, all holidays are for women because going back to the commercialism thing. I can phrase this. All right, going back to the commercialism thing, you're not gonna go if you want to please a woman, you're gonna give her gifts, and these are holidays, Mother's Day included, are dates to highlight gift giving. So the stores are making bank because they know we already marketed to these people. You need to get a gift on this day. Whether it be Christmas, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, what other holidays? Maybe Easter.
Maybe Good Friday.
Yeah, maybe Good Friday. But you've already been marketed to and brainwashed to say, hey, these days, something needs to be coming in my hand, regardless. So the big corporations win. So in a way, it is for women, but at the end of the line, it's more so for profit from these big corporations.
Profit could walk.
Yeah.
But I look forward to my flowers, chocolates, teddy bears, bears, plural. I don't want the tobacco.
The tobacco.
Tobacco kit. I call it the tobacco kit with the Black and Mild cigars, the Hennessy
bottles.
bottles.
You talking about,
Like, don't disrespect me. I would like a bouquet of roses on my desk so my coworkers could know that I have someone at home who love me too.
I don't ever get none of that. Have I ever gotten a Valentine's Day? I don't think so. I be bad a lot of times.
You sound like you got to treat yourself. You can do the trick.
I mean, I don't really be caring for it because like all these pagan holidays. I'm like Christmas. I don't do nothing.
Not Valentine being a pagan holiday.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why when you ask if it's for women, I'm like, yes, but deeper than that is like big corporate or whatever, like, you know. Well, yeah, I don't celebrate none of these pagan holidays. Like,
where the gifts?
With the gifts, my presence is a gift.
Where the coins?
Huh?
Where the coins? Where the gifts?
They can come, but they don't have to. I hate those days so much that I will create a holiday specifically for you, just so I don't have to give you a gift on that particular day.
Yeah, that's when their birthday comes in.
Oh, actually, that's another.
What? Now we have to cut. Thank you all so much for having me here. I would hate to go on such a bad note. I am such a birthday boy. It's crazy. Oh my god.
No, but you can get a gift. Gift giving on your birthday is cool or whatever, you know. I've learned how to celebrate my birthday in the last few years, even though I always tend to, being a workaholic, I just prefer to just work on my birthday.
What?
Yeah.
You know, I have 3 cardinal birthday rules.
You don't work on your birthday?
What? That's rule number uno right there. I don't believe in working on my birthday. I don't believe in making unnecessary calls on my birthday. Unnecessary calls being, I would never call you to say, oh, Jay, you know today's my birthday?
No, I never doing that.
Yeah, no, that's dead. My golden rule out of this trio is if I'm dating somebody and I'm the first birthday to come up in this fresh new whatever we're figuring out, and you don't wish me happy birthday, that's dead. And
I think that would be a given though.
Some people it ain't a given. Some people love to give chances.
When you meet somebody, the first thing you ask them is when you're like one of the
first things. Let's say if this is someone who was excited about their birthday, like, oh yeah, my birthday coming up. Or it might not be saying it to you, but like, oh, I'm planning, I'm booking. You hear me, my planning, booking. Or even if let's say you don't even know those stuff. But let's say we're on social media, you're seeing me post my stories, you're seeing whatever have you, and you still don't. It don't have to be during the time I'm thinking of, but let's say you're busy, you're with work, you then get a chance to check your phone, you then see it, remember. Then it's even, okay, but not at all. You could delete my number because you ain't never finna hear from me.
Yeah, Like I literally work. I think my last birthday I had a gig in the morning, went to work, and then had a gig that night.
Oh please! At this newfound corporate job, they give birthdays off, and that was the first time I've ever experienced that because I always put in for my vacation. And when I said, "Oh, that's like a given," oh okay, let's do it.
I think I would go crazy if I had my birthday off, because then it would be like, I gotta sit and try to figure out what I want to do.
What do you want to do?
I never do. So that's why I'm like, okay, let me just go to work. What I tend to do, I celebrate the week after.
Well, lean around making money, but
yeah. But like I normally take like, because my birthday is in October, so like that week leading up to Halloween, I'll take off.
Oh.
So it's like, all right. Or I'll take, like 2018, I had a couple of days like around Miami Carnival.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that's popping. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I'll either celebrate, or when I was in Atlanta, most of the times, like, Spell House and Georgia Tech homecoming be the week after. So yeah, so it's like I wouldn't folk to be like, yeah, I gotta be this day when I know all this stuff about to happen next week.
So that means I'm leading up from my day to the stuff that's happening.
Yeah. So it's like, all right, I don't gotta go crazy today. Or whatever, when I know I got this runway from the 20th to the 31st.
I am a birthday boy. All my 20s, I remember I used to do like a little boat sail away with my friends, and I do that. But now in my 30s, I call my U.S. World Tours.
Okay.
So when I turned 30, I did Tallahassee, Atlanta, and then went to Chicago.
This was like over a 2-week period?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like 2 weeks period just gone, honestly. Yeah. For my 31st birthday, I did Tallahassee. Well, Florida is always like a common stop for me. Just like check in, stomping grounds, hail my people. Then I went to DC.
Okay.
Went to DC.
When your birthday?
June 30th.
Okay, so you probably was in DC when I was in DC. Well, no, when the wind blurred was.
When was what?
No, because I was in DC. No, it was in the last week in July. I trying to remember. I think I was in DC in July last year.
I was in DC twice last year. We went for a conference. Corporate world. Jesus, that sounds so corporate. But I went for a conference in May, and then I went back for my birthday.
Yeah.
I spent my birthday in Florida. Then I flew out into DC from like mid-July, like just before 4th of July, or just after 4th of July, till about Independence Day for us.
Okay, so that was the beginning of July. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think No. I was in DC because I went to DC, I think July 7th, and I came back the day after Independence.
Oh, okay. Probably.
Yeah. So, oh, what a time.
Oh, but this year it's bigger and better.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go Tokyo this year.
Okay.
I'm trying to Nihao point. I come up with my Super Saiyan suit and we can like do this again. Okay, yeah, bet it up. I'm coming with my little One Piece suit, my little Naruto gear.
You could literally just. I don't know. I remember you sending the link to this page. Where he's a fashion designer and he takes different fandoms and then makes outfits comparative to the characters.
That sounds like me. I don't want to Attack on Titan blaze.
So it's like, they'd be like, all right, Attack on Titan, okay, we can real world this and then add the different flair to it and stuff like that.
No, please put me on. I love a little, like, I'm low-key really geeky and shit like that. I'd love to be like an X-Men. I have this theory about if we grew up in a world of avatars, like The Last Airbender, that our elements be based off our zodiac signs.
With the 4 elements? Mm-hmm. Okay. I digging that.
Yeah. So now let's say each year, depending on how it goes, you be born in your zodiac sign. As a Cancer, Cancerians, Pisces, and I think Scorpios would all be water signs. Mm-hmm. Air signs would be Libra and everyone else. Insert there. And you'd be based around your elements of powers like that.
Heavy stuff like.
Oh, I have seen this guy on TikTok.
Yeah.
He makes them.
Well, he styles them. So basically, I take Doflamingo. I'm gonna get this like.
Yeah, this is like a One Piece homage. This is popping. See, I definitely do some shit like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is me. I'm good for at least one Comic-Con in my life.
Yeah.
Like one good Comic-Con. I see the guys who go with their friends, they just like Sailor Moon just to have a little twist on things. That's so funny. I'd want to do some shit like that too.
Yeah. No, but if people really just be trying to get out their like most childish desires.
I think it's a different. I love the spin it gives on, I guess, fandom. Yeah. And it's such a degree of passion that when I see, when I see all that geek out, I'm like, oh, y'all, where are y'all getting these shits from?
A lot of the times we making them.
Yes. and that's what blows me even more, where I'm thinking about, hey, can I order this on Amazon too?
Yeah, like, you can order some things, but
like some other people, they make them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that, I fuck with you for that. That's popping.
Because sometimes let's say for instance, you're a seamstress or a tailor or whatever, you might just need something to like rev up that creative engine and then you good to go for like simpler stuff.
Yeah, a lot of cosplay. I personally haven't gotten into myself, but I always can appreciate it though. Like I'd want to go as like Samus Aran somewhere as like a
full body one, or are you talking about
full
the zero?
body? No, okay, the full body one, not even zero suit. I'd want to be my little cannon on my arm, like ready. Y'all play Smash Brothers, y'all know.
Yeah, the whole stagger step and things like that. But you basically, what I've learned over time is just basically making life whatever you want it to be, expressing yourself however, and why like that particular space is. It's for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, once you be respectful to people, it's like, bro, ain't nobody watching that. Do what you want to do.
And it's crazy that you have to say the disclaimer, because I think that disclaimer only exists when you present that type of idea in our Bahamian culture.
Yeah.
That it's still taking a little bit of getting used to. I think people are still, certain people can't appreciate that it's just more so like, homage to your favorite anime dog, like the same Dragon Ball Z that everyone else is watching.
They respect it when they start seeing the money being.
Yeah. Like, or they respect when they can recognize the actual character.
Or you getting probably like, okay, like late last year I got posted by pumpblack.com as top 20 cosplayers of color to look out for in 2024. So it's like, all right, if I had, let me put this in the newspaper, this and that, and that. Oh, flip, you getting recognized, but I'm like, nah, I ain't gonna let y'all know yet. Like, I can wait until it get bigger, so then I can have like a boatload of stuff.
So I can have a plethora of things just to...
Yeah. So, and then you meet a lot of different people. I got a collab with some other Caribbean cosplayers at the end of the month. Well, not the end of the month. For Valentine's Day for February.
Okay, see? There you go.
So... as I took those photos last night on the same backdrop. Had in there like with yellow, make it look like heaven because we're doing Greek gods.
I know that's right.
So, so it's just expression for me, and it's like a combination of things, and how like I had a conversation where like Usher was Miss Ladybug, and then he did the thing with he made a post where he was dressed up like Gojo from JJK.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, it's all like men in each other.
Yeah.
Like you have athletes making these references and things like that. So it's like
they get it, even like down to rappers.
Yeah. So it's like let you hair, little things. So it's almost like American comics at this point. Like okay, like you referred to Michael Jordan as Superman, but Superman is a fictional character that been out over 100 years ago. So, but people don't think that's bizarre or whatever. You know who Batman is. So it's like, it's just like, wait, it's just a part of it. This ain't something obscure. So, we're over with due time.
Yeah, no, this was a nice little after show, actually.
Yes. So, thanks again.
Thank you. I think
that's a wrap because we like an hour and 39 minutes.
Oh, we were really kicking back and shit. We were shooting the breeze. Oh, yes. Okay. Thank y'all for having me. Erryting Kool.
Erryting Kool still. Oh, man.